Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome. My name is Maryann Pagano. I am Chief Executive Officer of BlackHawk Data. Welcome to our LinkedIn Live. I am super excited today for our panel, as well as for the very first time we have a LinkedIn Live audience. So you guys are both virtual as well as in person. So we're super excited. It's our first time doing it. We're really hoping to be able to continue this. We welcome you guys here for the next one. In the beginning, I'll just introduce myself, my panel, and how long I've been in the industry. I am a solutions provider. I am BlackHawk's Chief Executive Officer. I've been in the industry about 20, 25 years. I've been on the solution provider side pretty much my whole life. My partner Jason and I started BlackHawk Data in 2018. So we're in just about over 5 years. Beatrice.
Hello, everyone. I'm so happy to be here. My name is Beatrice Clarke. I'm a regional manager for Cisco, running public sector here in New York City. So all city agencies fall under my purview of responsibility. I've been in this business, sadly to say, knocking 40 years now. I started right after college in 1983, and I have stayed with it, and I'm so glad I did. From all these years, it's been amazing.
Kristin.
Yes. Well, hi. Good afternoon to those of us joining live, and good morning or good evening wherever you're tuning in virtually. Thank you so much for hosting to the entire BlackHawk team. This is really just so exciting to see. I feel like I've known and watched your business grow and grow and grow, and you as a leader. So I'm really proud and thankful to be here and share time with you. I do think time is really like the new currency, right? And so to be able to share time and connect is really a gift. So thank you for sharing your time with me. I work at CDW, our global solutions provider. Specifically, I lead our global business diversity capability. So accountable for our diverse supply chain at CDW. Specifically, I also have responsibility here in New York City, New York State. And so looking forward to today.
Lauren.
Wonderful. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for having me. My name is Lauren Cutler. I currently lead the SLED and medical practice for Channel and Alliances for Zscaler. It's so nice to look around the audience. It's great to have some male allies here, some folks that have worked with me and for me in the past lives. I've been in the industry for about 15 years. I've been carrying the bag at CDW, so I have more of that sales hat, and then merged into Channel and Alliances. And very much looking forward to being here with you all today.
So I start with the story of how did you get into IT? How do you get into tech, right? Because I always say tech finds you, you don't really find tech. So I'll tell, for those that haven't heard the story, I'll tell it again. So for me, I kind of was lost finding my way. It was my grandmother who actually found a job in the penny saver when there was one, who started the job and said, here, take this job before your mother kills you. Go find your way. And it was a job working for a solutions provider way back in the day. And that was really kind of how I got my start, right? That was way back when there was no internet. You had to mail clients proposals and you had to do all weird things. I started as a WordPerfect trainer. So yes, that's the thing. So that's how I got started. It wasn't something that I wanted to do. It was something that kind of just found me. I'm glad I stuck with it, like Beatrice said, because it's been a great career for me. So it's a super awesome place to be, especially as a female. I'll go backwards to Lauren.
So just to piggyback off of that, Maryann, the reason why I joined tech, I come from a long line of sales, a big sales family. My dad was a VP over at Kellogg when he retired. My brother's in med device. And so I thought, where can I capitalize and leverage something that's thriving in the marketplace, which is tech. It's always evolving. There's a lot of margin, and it's highly transactional. So started at CDW. They had a great training program. And so I thought that would be a great place to start. And let's just be honest, it's a lot easier if you're a hustler and a grinder female than anything. So I think, you got to kind of capitalize on what you can. It's been a great industry.
So I love when you open where you said it finds you, because that would be exactly how I would marquee probably my experience. And so I am probably the newest in the room into tech. So 6 years at CDW. Prior to that, I worked in another Fortune 100 retail company, and I was there 20 years. And so I literally started when I was 16 as a cashier, and then really just thought I would never leave, but did leave after 21 years. I'll tell you why really quick. And we'll talk about this because we're going to talk about biases and motherhood and women. But so I became a mom 14 years ago to my daughter, Kate. and Caitlin was born with Down syndrome. And so everything kind of shifted for me really on, I was obsessed with EBITDA, right? That's what they wanted, where it worked. And so I'm like, okay, I want to make money and want to do good. So I'll chase EBITDA with you. And so I loved it so much. Like I wanted my license plate to say EBITDA. Yeah, I don't have it. There's a wait list. Wouldn't that be fun? And so, because I was just so obsessed, right, with EBITDA and making money and doing good. But when I became a mom to Caitlin, really everything changed for me. And I then wasn't so obsessed with making money and EBITDA. Don't get me wrong. I love to have revenue enabling opportunities in the work that I do today. But I became kind of then obsessed with marginalized communities, right? And serving, how do I serve back to the underserved? And so the disability community, right, is what found me first. The disability community, right, is the one in which all of us can join really at any time, and the only one that's globally recognized. However, right, you can live life two ways. You can be present or you can participate. And so I wanted to participate in the change I wanted to see, but it just didn't mean focusing on disability communities, women-owned, minority-owned, veteran-owned, service-disabled, disability, LGBTQA-owned. And so that's the work that I do at CDW. So when I made this change from the retail environment to go work and support the disability community, I went to non-for-profit. And so anyone who's non-for-profit who does that, I highly advise you. That is extremely hard. It is to date the hardest job that I had. I was the COO of the National Down Syndrome Achievement Center. And so I think it's a bit of fail forward. I did not enjoy that. I tried my best, but I really was probably too young for that and too much of a new mom in this new reality. And so I had to fail forward in that. And so the easy thing would be just go back to where I was. But who takes the easy road, right? What's the hardest? I'll take that. So, new mom, right? And I'm like, okay, that didn't work. So instead of going back to where I was really attracted to CDW. I was recruited and I've fallen in love with tech space. And really the work that I do today is really, though, grounded in business diversity and creating opportunity, sustainable, equitable supply chain. So it definitely found me.
Beatrice.
So to be honest, how I got in this business was so long ago that the story is a little bit blurred. But the truth of the matter is that I got into this business because one day I told a friend I needed a job, and they asked if I wanted to work for the company that they worked for, which was back then a company called Rome. Mm-hmm. And so I went for the interview and I got there and they said, do you know anything about telecommunications? And I said, no. And they were like, okay, you want to work here? And I'm like, sure. I was 22 years old, working for this big company down on Wall Street. And I went home and I remember telling my mom, I don't know what I just said yes to, but I'm working on Wall Street. So impressed. The fact that they were impressed, I was like impressed with myself. I was like, oh, geez, I think I did something really, really great. And that's what happened. It was an accident. I had no idea what this would be like, but it's carried my career for 40 years, and I'm super proud. And like I said in the beginning, super excited that the company that I work for is allowing me to still continue to do this every single day.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, so some of the things we talk about is basically, challenges, right? And kind of what issues that we face while we're getting into the industry and while we're in the industry, right? And I think each one of us and everyone here, right, has found different areas where there's a challenge, right? Whether you're male or female, right, you still have a challenge. I think for me, as a female in IT, for me, it's always been, you're not part of the boys club, right? You're not part of that, right? Coming from the solution provider side, especially on that area of the house, right? It's definitely segmented, right? You're definitely that female in the room, the one that doesn't get invited to things or added to things, or you're not part of that decision making, right? Getting yourself at that table, right? So some of the challenges that I've overcome is that, right? Just being able to hold myself up in a room, right? Being able to stand up for myself, speak up for myself, and be able to make my own career choices. And I think having people behind you to help you do that is helpful. But those are the challenges that I've seen myself in the last 20, 25 years. What about Kristin again?
you know, well, I think that's the big one, right? I mean, the one that you're experiencing is probably one that we can probably all nod to a little bit at some journey, within our career. But I do think, women systematically underestimate their own abilities. And I would say there's a lot of data, but you don't need data for everything. It's human and heart data that people systematically underestimate women abilities, right? And I think what I kind of touched on a little bit too is that when we talk about biases, I do think motherhood is one of the single biggest biases in the workplace. And so that's one that I think, because I very much talk about my girls in the workplace. I think I led with it unplanned, just felt compelled. But I very much talk about being a mom and talking through Caitlin and Kendall and right the balance of it all. And so, I would say that you have to really build like a good ecosystem of women and men and colleagues and people who agree with you, disagree with you, that think like you, and don't think like you. I think that has really kind of given me courage to want to collaborate more in tech space and to be able to fail forward or communicate with courage, and more so to be inspired, not intimidated by this work or this industry. But the ecosystem that you pick or the group and the community that you go, make sure that they light up where you're dark, right? So that we all have things that we're not great at or not, maybe our opportunities. So bring in people that can light to where you're not, people that can bring in strength where you're not. But I think that takes a lot of self-awareness too, and kind of self-awareness, which is really hard right now. I think we're in a really complex time. I think what is super persistent uncertainty is kind of what I tell my teams what we're in. So how do we create more opportunities of certainty? And what we can do right now for ourselves is just control your own economy. Because the economy, there's all kinds of terms with it, right? There's economic anxiety, recovery, this changes Monday to Friday. And when environments are changing Monday to Friday, it gets complex. So how do we stay calm in that? And so that is how I handle my own economy. Who am I around? Where am I investing in? Where am I spending my money? Where am I spending my time? So to manage your own economy, because that's what you can control.
Here's the reality. That was beautifully said. I love it.
That's perfect.
The reality is there's always going to be the boys club and there's going to be a girls club, and it's not easy to navigate. But there are a lot of badass women in this world, in this industry. There's a lot of amazing male allies. Do not be intimidated. We're all here for a reason. And if we continue to push through, we'll join our own girls club or boys club or mix it up. But nothing is impossible. This is not impossible. There are a ton of women in leadership roles. Don't think that because you're up against men in an interview process, who cares? Get after it. I'm trying to motivate myself. You got to believe what you say, but nothing is impossible.
That's hard to follow.
I mean,
but I think it is, and again, this is supposed to be casual for us, right? And nothing is impossible, right? Look at me, look at me. 5 years ago, I was an inside sales rep, kind of answering to a bunch of overgrown men, right, who kind of just told me what to do and took the credit for it. And one day you wake up and my partner Jason and I was sitting in a room that's probably a 2x2 with a cell phone and a desk, and it's like, well, so now what do you do? I don't know. What do I do? And that's where we get into the whole question of like building your network. I think that's one of the biggest pieces, right? Building your network. Even if it's go a long time, you've built your network. Of course, people that have your back, people that trust you, right? If you don't have it, especially as females, right? And they don't have to be female friends. They could be males. They can be. It doesn't matter who has your back. Someone has to have your back. Because it's lonely at the top, as they say, right? And no one's lonelier than me most of the time. But you need someone you can turn to, someone you can throw something off of, right? And I think that, I do that with Kristin all the time. I do with Kristin's whole team. And I think the supportive nature of each other is important. That's what got me through 5 years, right? Having enough people behind me to have my back. How did you build your network?
Yeah, so well, I want to take a step back and talk a little bit about adversity and what's really hard for some of us. So wanted to point out that English is a second language. I wasn't born in this country, and I came here as a child. My parents when we got here, I had two sisters that came with us, with me and my mom and my dad. We were very, very, very poor, very poor. I took my kids recently to see where we lived when we got to this country, and it caused them sadness because they didn't realize how poor we were. But I never felt poor. And even not knowing English, I never really felt to be a minority. And I think that's what we do. We have a minority mindset, and we have to rise above that and understand that we are not. Women in leadership, women in business, we are not a minority at all. And so in overcoming that, learning how to speak the language, going to school with kids that I didn't understand, trying to make friends, and growing into that is fundamentally what has made me a strong woman in my own right. And I've taken that everywhere I've been. So for me, I never saw myself in a man's world as a minority. I saw myself as an equal. I saw myself as one that struggled just as much as anyone else trying to be successful and make great money and support your family and get your kids through college and do all those things that create purpose in everything we do. And I think that's one of the things that I've carried with me in this business. Um, how I build my network is very simple. There's someone here in this room that I respect so much. He started in this business with me 40 years ago nearly. And these are the people that we meet in every step of our career, in every company that we work with, in every job that we have. We pick a person or people that have contributed and meant something. And it's really funny because seeing Jerry sitting in this room, knowing that he and I grew up together in this business, when I need something, I will call him. Not because I call him a mentor or I put him in that role, but because whatever it is that I go through or need help with, there is a person that I know can help me. And it's not the same person every time. It's a person that I know can address whatever question or concern or need I have. And I will reciprocate in that to anyone that I believe I can support, always. So my network has been built over the long years in this business, people that I have grown to trust, people who I've stayed connected to, people who have contributed to my health, mental health, and well-being as a person, as a leader, as a woman, and then those that I also can contribute to. Those are people that I go to as well, because the other thing that I feel is super important is never losing the sense that each and every one of you that we connect to can teach me something. All of you teach me something. And I believe that there'll be a day where perhaps I can teach you something too. And that's how you build your network. You build it on the foundation that we're all in this together and we can teach and we can learn from each other. And I ask that in your network, you don't choose a person. You choose those that can surround you, support you in the moment of need. And again, it's never the same person ever, all the time.
I think it's trying to hear you after a while. That's very well done. Kristin,
Yeah,
thoughts?
no, thank you so much for sharing. I love that we didn't have any prep, or we've never actually met. I met Maryann, right? So we're all learning in real time, right? And just listening, right? And then also, responding. And so, I would agree. I think, right, how I live my life and how I want to raise my family is that learning and teaching aren't mutually exclusive, right? And you have to be a relentless learner. I normally don't say have to or use absolutes, but I think you have to be a relentless learner.
Yeah.
And so I think to build that network and that ecosystem, I think two things that I kind of exercise with my team or right with my family is I'll say, if you were to open a dictionary and there's the word help, right? Who is under that? What list the people? What does help look like for you? Because what help looks like for me is perhaps different than what help looks like for Maryann, right? And so just to know that if you open that and help, who's under that list, right? Because those are your helpers, right? And so I actually learned that from Caitlin. She gets the yearbook every year and she circles helpers, either someone who held the door once or someone that maybe directed her if she got lost in school. She circles the helpers. And I love that she does that. But then I always email the parents and say, hey, Caitlin, so your son was a helper in school, right? There's usually 5 that rise to the occasion. And so to know who the helpers are too. The other thing that I want to share is that we absolutely heal in community, right? We learn in community, we grow in community. And so it is really important how I live my life. What I would want to share with you and my team and my family is that it's to be a giver, right? A giver of your time, a giver of resources, but to be a forgiver too, right? I think then we are really healing in community and building your network. So
It does get harder with age. I think I hold on that a lot longer than I used to. Lauren, thoughts?
So I feel like I'm the New Yorker on this panel that has just like a single answer.
You're all from Chicago, so
I know.
we're New Yorkers.
So I use one word that I think wraps up how I built my network, and that's authenticity. So I always say to my team, the version of Lauren you get as a leader, as a peer, as a mother, as a wife, as a friend is consistently the same. And so don't ever be that person that sends a note, hey, I was recently part of a transition in workforce. I saw a job open. Would you mind helping me out? Be the person that checks in every 6 months and says, hey, Joe, how's your wife? How are your kids? No need to respond, but I'm just thinking of you. And I want to check in and say hello, because that's authentic. I really do want to know how Joe and his family are doing. And if Joe doesn't have the time to respond to me, it's okay. But if I needed Joe for something, I guarantee you that Joe is going to at least respond to me. The second thing is expect nothing. Have zero expectations. Don't expect someone to reach out to you for something. Don't expect someone to return your emails. If you expect nothing, you get everything in return. You're never disappointed. This is actually a good lesson as a mother. I expect nothing from anyone. I get nothing, but I feel like at some point in life, it'll all come back to me, but I expect nothing. And usually there's goodness in return.
But that's really good. So obviously, to go off script, that's really good because for me, right, I always hear comments about, your company is run by people, right? Because I'm just a person, right? I'm the same person I was 7 years ago, 10 years ago. Like you said, I'm the New Yorkers. I am what you get, right? I don't change. I'm not different, right? I'm the same person, whether I'm talking to you outside, I'm a CEO yelling at you for not making your numbers, or I'm somebody else. I'm the same person, Filtering is hard for me. I'm not a good filterer because I'm a New Yorker by nature. So filtering is a problem. We're working on that. It's a work in progress. But I think that's important because for 20 years, I've given myself to the industry, to vendors, to manufacturers, right? To business partners, right? So when you start your business, you're using that. You don't expect to ever use that. You just give because you want to give, right? I know Ken and the team and Kristin forever. Right. And, we've known each other for a long time. And I never thought I'd be on the receiving end. Right. You're right. Because I thought at the end of the day, we were in theory competitors, but we've always been nice to each other and pleasant to each other, not expecting something to come back.
Right.
Yes.
You're not expecting anything to come back. You're doing it out of the goodness of your heart because of who you are. And someone had made a post one day right after our June event. And it basically said, people showed up because you guys are real people. And that was like the coolest comment because that's what I want to be. I want to just be that person. In the beginning, I was like, well, you're not CEO-like enough. I'm like, well, what does that actually mean? Like, am I not a man? I can't change that. You know, it's very difficult because you want to just be you.
Mhm.
You don't want people to, you don't want to fake you. You want an authentic, real you.
Yeah.
And I think that's really, truly important.
You know, I would just add, you said script. Maybe she has a script. We weren't shared the
Yeah,
script.
there's no script. I share nothing. Everything is just
She has
whatever
some.
flows out of my mouth. Is
We
what I
weren't given
answer.
anything in advance, which is just so genuine and organic. But you know what I would just say, I guess not add, but you are perhaps the most qualified to be, sharing today because, I'll speak for myself and perhaps my peers, colleagues, if they would like to join. We're corporate climbers. You took the leap of faith to be an entrepreneur. The courage that takes to be an entrepreneur, to have a startup, to believe in yourself when no one did, right? I mean, the courage that takes, I can only, honestly dream of, right? And so I just really applaud you for what you've built, and you are leading the way for women in tech. That entrepreneur spirit where you believe every day can get better. You believe when they're in success when no one else can. And so you are the most qualified, and I'm so proud of you of everything that you built in your team, because it is not easy.
I blame him.
It is not easy.
I would have kept my job as an abused employee. I never would have moved. I would have just dealt with it. I got too old to change.
But you did. That's courage, right?
That's
That is stepping outside and following a dream, right? And so, not probably perhaps people watching or sitting here have this dream that you've been sitting on, right, or thinking of, and right, thinking about it doesn't mean you're working on it.
Yeah.
I just heard that in a podcast, right? But you actually are doing it and living it and creating employment.
Yes.
Right? You're job creation, you're creating economic gains. I mean, you're doing really significant work, and so many people just sit on that dream or think of being an entrepreneur, right? But have that spotlight syndrome that I think sometimes, that I have as a woman of, what will they say or what will they do? When actually nobody's actually worried about me, probably, right? I mean, I have great family and friends and whatnot, but if I think like, oh my gosh, what will like my daughter Kendall's friends' parents think if I do open this business or go after this? But like at the end of the day, they're worried about themselves. And right,
who cares?
yeah. Well, I sometimes do. I sometimes do care, right? And sometimes I am intimidated by things, and so that spotlight syndrome is something that I'm really working on. That like it's okay to try something, but you did it, so you are mentoring me.
Thank you. Well, by default, I am sitting in the spotlight, right?
Yes.
So, and I'm still intimidated. I'm still, a work in progress. I'm still, worried what people are going to think. I'm so worried to walk in a room as the female and, be a CEO and try to hold my own in a room. It's not easy as a female. You never get past that.
Right.
That's why I hate the imposter syndrome question, because I think I suffer from it so badly. I don't want to talk about it.
Yeah.
I think it makes me super nervous because it is very difficult. Our industry is very male dominated. It is, and it's very hard to hold your own in a room. When you walk into a boardroom, you walk into a negotiations. I'm definitely not one of the best negotiators, as Jason will tell you. I negotiate backwards instead of forward. So I'm really bad at math, so it's not always a good thing. I get very nervous because the men like, well, let's do it for this much money. I'm like, how about this? Like, oh, I went the wrong way. Sorry. Because you're trying to be strong and confident, but it's hard, right?
For sure.
When you're walking in a
For
room
sure.
for Cisco and you have to present yourself. I mean,
Yeah.
it's not easy. No.
Not easy.
No, I think that's very difficult. So when you look at imposter syndrome, when you look at being able to hold yourself in a room, what do you think when you walk in a room when you're the only female?
Here we go again.
So yeah,
Huh?
I really, I'm so accustomed to
Yeah.
walking into a room and being the only woman that to me, when I find another woman in the room, it's like, what are you doing? So it's almost like they took my spot. It's like, what? So it's a normal thing for me. We're trying. The great thing about Cisco, for me, is that we have a tremendous amount of women in top leadership at Cisco. So we have an amazing network of women that we are, they're in front of us leading the charge, and they have made it easier for us that come behind them to be accepted in this world that Cisco has created for all of us. And so, and there are some of those women that I call mentors because they are, we spoke about being able to reach out when you need something, advice, coaching, an idea. Some of those women in top leadership have become that for me. And that is something that I cherish very much. Um, so that, so I don't feel awkward because I've been in that awkward situation nearly my entire career. Um, the imposter syndrome, I think all of us, even if we don't want to admit it, we have it, we do it, especially if if you're if you're entering into a new role. When I first became a leader, and I realized that people were actually reporting to me, and I'd go into the org chart and I'd count the number of people, and I'd be like, "Oh, I have 4 kids. So I don't know if I could love or coach or guide more than 4. I only have experience doing 4 things with 4 people." And so I I felt like I needed to be the best I could be for them. So I've been always challenged to push myself to be the best I can be for those that are under my responsibility, whether it's my kids or my home or the team that reports to me or the team that I am able to work with and influence around me, contributing to my business. And so I feel I've lost the imposter syndrome when I started believing, truly believing in myself and the ability to do that, to just do the right thing and to support those around me. And there are times when I meet someone that I'm going to have direct responsibility for or is contributing to me and my business and the wellness of what I'm trying to create, I always say to them, I am not perfect. I will make mistakes. I will say something stupid. I will probably make a decision that's not the best because I am no different than anyone else in this room. And that doesn't make you an imposter. It just makes you human. And it's just as simple as that.
Any thoughts on this?
Yes. I guess that what I would say, in one, I applaud Cisco for being a North Star, probably for so many, on all that they're advancing for women in leadership and your leadership. It'd probably be a good time, right? What I'm really proud about CDW is we have a female CEO in tech, not in Silicon Valley. Our COO is female. More than 60% of our executive leadership is of women leadership. So, right, for me, I very distinctly, I have to see to believe things, right? I just really do. And so I love seeing that every day where I work. I love seeing the possibility of that. But to answer your question, when I walk into a room, this actually just happened last week at dinner. I turned to my colleague and I said, "Gosh, wouldn't it be awesome? Another woman was at this dinner. We were at this big dinner, and it was right by radio. I loved it. It was a great dinner and great company. So much goodness there. But I did say that. So I guess my feeling is when that happens, maybe it's, I don't know if I'm intimidated, but I feel accountable to bring others with me. I feel accountable to next time I'm going to check the dinner invite and see who do I bring with, either my team or channel or whatnot, right? And so I feel this responsibility to do something, right? That's be present or participate. So if I want change, I just have to participate in the change. I'm not going to always maybe make it be able to happen. That's an easy thing to invite someone to dinner, but there'll be things out of my control. But where you can make an impact, try. Right? I think it's ripple by ripple. Isn't that how the ocean rises anyway? Ripple by ripple.
You have a lot of good like a sermon or something. There's a lot of good stuff.
I have to practice myself a little bit more.
All in it together.
All
In it together.
Just to kind of tie it back to my authenticity word, servant leadership is the linchpin, I think, that can solve a lot of these, maybe not solve, but at least soften the situation. So I always find that when there are females at the dinners, at the boardroom, they soften the conversation, they soften the situation. There's something very unique about women without kids, professional, not professional. Just the way I think women are wired can really add a different element to these potentially tense or more male-dominated conversations. And it's okay to know going into it that this is the situation you're walking into. But again, be authentic, own it. I love that you said that you like to bring, I'm going to use this as an opportunity that next time I'll bring in more people. Our objective is to, as a leader, my objective is to help the next person get to the top. It's not about me. The second I had my kids, it becomes not about you. And so I use that as my leadership milestone is put other people above yourself. And if you do that, you will get so much more in return, but expect nothing. And I always like to hire A people because the people that are at the top are the ones that are the face of your whole brand. But I don't do it for me, I do it for them. And nothing feels better, and I'm sure you all can attest, than seeing someone that you've mentored, that you've been a part of conversations with, get into a role that they so deserve. And even if you had 1% of that to influence, like that's more than any amount. I'm not in a job for the stock. I'm not in it to get rich. If I die on a beach with $1 million less than the person next to me, but people say, Lauren had my back and Lauren would always look out for me, that's enough for me.
Mm-hmm. Well, that goes back to being our authentic, true self, right? And I think that's what makes us who we are and got us where we are, right? Because we're not fake, we're not phony, right? We are who we are. And like, you're not a New Yorker, neither is Kristin, but you guys feel like it. Because we gotta just lay it on the line, and it is who we are. I wanted to touch on, because you touched on work-life balance. I can't talk to that. I don't have one. But you do. However, the rest of you probably do. You're not learning from me. Do not do what I say.
That was so funny. I don't know.
Listen, I didn't want kids now I'm 45, so let's put it that way.
There you go.
Talking about work-life balance. That's important for a lot of people coming in because they have children, want children, they want to have a family. Again, I'm the wrong person for this conversation, but the rest of you can kind of guide.
So I was telling some women prior to this going live what I did, and it worked for me. And if people want to judge, I don't really care. So when I had my kids, I was 31 years old. I had my son. I went back to work after 6 weeks because I was done being at home, and I'm okay with it. So I outsourced. My husband's an attorney. We got a nanny. We did what we needed to do to make the family move. And there were women that judged, and it hurts. It's real, but I don't care because for me, that is what fills my cup. I can go home at night and my kids ask, like, why are you to leave again? Because this is what I have to do for me. I do things for you, you do things for yourself, but this is what I have to do for me. And women set the tone of the household. I really, really believe that. And so I know it's like happy wife, happy life, but as a woman, a working mom, if you are not happy with yourself and you do not feel fulfilled, the family falls apart. And I will take that to my grave because I can see it when I'm having a bad day, when I've got to put someone on a performance plan, when I have to have those tough conversations, it bleeds through to my family time. But that's okay because that's real. That's me. And people have to recognize that this is the way that you create work-life balance. And sometimes they both bleed into each other. But there's good learnings on both sides. So can you have a good work-life balance? Absolutely. Everything is a choice. You choose to come home and put your phone away and read a book to your kids. You choose to answer an email at midnight. Both are good choices, but those are all choices that you have to make for yourself. And do not let any male or female tell you you cannot have a family and work and be at the top, because that is 100% not true. You can do it. You can do it.
You can do it. Okay, so you can do it, and you should do it if that's what that's your path. So I think though, I think how I started too, I do think motherhood is one of the biggest biases in the workplace that's not talked about. But I would say that work-life balance isn't just for those that are on a parenting journey, right? I have plenty of colleagues and teammates on my team that don't have kids, but very much have a really great work-life balance and things that matter to them and things that bring them joy. So I think we have to make sure that when we're talking through work-life balance or right, whatever that means to you is going to be just for you, right? It's not that your colleague or your teammate who doesn't have kids is just going to be available 24/7 because they're not running around to soccer, theater, or volleyball, right? But they're doing things that fulfill them, to your point. And so I just wanted to make sure I agree that you have to make your own choices, right? And you have to be able to have those hard decisions. But I think work-life balance is really hard right now. I definitely can't stay up here and tell you that I have figured it out, or would encourage you to maybe figure it out, because who knew that one pandemic would really redesign the workplace and workforce? But it did. And we are certainly still trying to find our way. And so I would just, as we are all finding our way in this, to just be calm, patient, stay together, have community, have your helpers, and work in your ecosystem. Because it's really complex right now. I think it's really hard. You either work where you live or live where you work. What's the difference now, maybe? Right? And that's hard. It's hard to do. So
They really bled together.
it is. It's a blend. And I think that there's still just so much to be figuring out to do. But to have your ecosystem, right? Or have your lighthouse, right? Someone who just has the light on for you. Right.
Yeah, work-life balance has always been something that I struggle with, or have struggled with. But one of the things that I will say is I learned a really tough lesson not too long ago, where we as a leader, or I as a leader, will always tell my people, look, I will support the need for your work-life balance. Tell me what you need, and I will support it. If you need time off, take it. If you need to go away, do it. If you need half a day to do something, go do it. But you know who doesn't do it? The person that's telling your team to do it. And so I realized recently where my partner decided to surprise me with a week's vacation. And I went home and I was like, oh, no. Oh, did I forget to say thank you? Thank you for doing that, but I can't do that. How am I going to go away for a week? It's impossible. It's impossible. And he was like, well, you figure it out. I'm not canceling. And so I was so torn in trying to figure this out that I said to myself, how can I speak from both sides of my mouth? How can I tell a team member, take all the time you need. If you need to go on vacation, I will support you, I will cover you, I will do anything that you need so that your business runs smoothly while you take the time. Meanwhile, I feel like there's no one there that would do that for me. And so I challenged myself in that moment to say, I have to do it because people look up to the things that I do and choose as a role model in their role. And so I decided to do it. And guess what? I did it. It worked.
And the world survived.
The world exactly. So I
It's a great start.
Exactly right.
One day I'll learn that.
Yeah.
I got so close this year. So close, but no cigar. So I was out of time, but one of my last questions. I always like to end with, what would you tell your younger self, right? Because there's a lot of people in the room and on the LinkedIn Live who are looking to make their way, right? So one of the things I still tell my older self is be confident in who you are, be confident in your abilities. Yes, I do talk through both sides of my mouth. I preach it, but I have a hard time saying it. And count on the people who and Sarah and Tommy, the balance with you, right? You have to be balanced. I unbalance, as someone in the room can clearly tell you. I am balanced pretty much every day, all day. I feel balanced and I unbalance again. So you need those people to balance you, to keep you sane, and find that circle that we talked about before that can help balance you and put things back in perspective. And that's one of the biggest things I had to learn was that, because you need to lean on people around you, the crowd that you built, right? That you're people who you can entrust in. So that's what I would tell my younger self. I'll go to Kristin.
Yeah, I think that's a really thoughtful way to say it, because I guess I would to like, if my kids would be like, okay, you're having an unbalanced day, Mom. That's not the word they would use. They'd be like, sorry, Mom's here. So I'm going to tell them to say it's an unbalanced moment. I'm having an unbalanced day, Kendall. But I love that. It's thoughtful. It's nice, right? But I would tell myself, oh gosh, that it's okay to stand in the gap. It's okay to not have to pick a side or pick a way or have this, journey, but just okay to stand in the gap, whatever that's going to be. There are plenty of them in any type of industry you're going to work at. There is a gap, and to stand in it.
Lauren, closing words.
Yeah, I mean that's a big question, and I reflect on. There's 1,000 things I would tell my younger self, but I would probably say what's coming forward is not going to be easy, and you really have to be prepared to build confidence in your own ability to persevere and to push through. I don't know how many times, I'm not a huge crier. Although in my older age, I've been like this, I cry on every call when we say goodbye to someone's having a baby. But the road ahead can be really rocky. And I always say, not to pull religion into it, but have a rabbi, have a priest. And I don't mean that from an organizational perspective, but have a person. Have someone that's got your back, or two people. Back to what Beatrice said. If you have people that have your back, that look out for you, you will always find a way. And it won't be easy, but have your people always.
I think the biggest thing I would tell myself, my younger self, is that mistakes are really great. I learn more from my mistakes than I do from my success. And my younger self never thought a mistake was a good thing. And I learned that over time. So I would tell myself, my younger self, make all the mistakes that you need to learn and be better at what you do or who you are or what you want to bring forward.
So we are definitely over time. So thank you everyone for listening. I truly appreciate it. I appreciate everyone for showing up today. I hope to grow the audience, and I think it's a great information, especially for people trying to be in the industry, people already in the industry, looking to grow, right, in the industry. And that's what we're here for, right, to help give back and give you guys something you guys can do with your career to help you guys get better and grow within your organization. So thank you very much on LinkedIn. We will catch you next time. Thank you.
Great.
Awesome job, Maryann.
That was good. It was good.
Oh, so fun. Thank you so much for